One of the toughest things about being a leader is you're going to let your team down. You're going to let people down. And today in this video, what I'm going to talk to you guys about is how to get over letting your team down. And also, I'm going to teach you guys what it really takes to be a leader, okay? And what it really takes is imperfection. If you want to be a leader, you have to be ready to be imperfect. You cannot strive for perfection in your life. You have to get used to owning your flaws and owning your imperfections. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today, because I want to make you guys a better leader for your family. Remember that time when you were a kid, and you put your parents on a pedestal, maybe a relative. It wasn't your mom or your dad, but it was somebody. You put them on a pedestal. And then as you got around them, one day they let you down. And they were no longer that superhero. They were no longer that person that you admired. They were just a human. And you were almost crushed that they weren't who you built them up to be. Well, there's actually, I forget the author's name, but he wrote a book about how, I think it's called The Leadership Myth. And it's basically about how the people and these public figures in history that we all admire, that they're really not as great as they've been articulated to be. That really their story is what's great, and that's what's made them a leader. Point being, in this video, guys, if you want to be a leader, one of the best things that you can do for your team and for yourself is own your imperfection, is to be imperfect, to be the authentic version of you. When you try to be perfect all the time as a leader, what you're going to do is you're going to eventually crack and do something that's imperfect behind closed doors. You're going to eventually, you're going to put so much pressure. This was me for a while. When I was in the military, I was an officer, and I wanted to be the perfect officer when I was in front of the troops, the perfect politician, right? But then when I got back home, it was like, man, I put on a face, I put on this mask at work, and when I got home, I just wanted to let my hair down or whatever and be myself. But the real thing I wanted to do was just go off the rails and forget all of my discipline. And all that does when you live two lives as a leader is it makes you hate yourself. So the best thing to do is to be the authentic version of you and to own your imperfections. So when it comes to being a great leader, that's what this video is about. It's about building you up into the imperfect leader. When nobody wants, if you guys are new to the channel, I'm Jeremiah Sullivan, former Army Ranger. And by the way, if you haven't yet, click subscribe to the channel, because I'm putting out these videos, sharing my military experience with all of you guys, my transformations that you guys can transform in your lives. I was a quitter in life. I turned into a top 1% in the military, and I became an entrepreneur after I left service. Now I help other entrepreneurs and high achievers get the results that they want in their life with their body, their business, and their life. But the whole point of this video is to bring you guys up as a leader. And a lot of you guys, you focus so much on trying to be perfect all the time that you spend so much time just dwelling on all your imperfections. And all I want you to do is take a second today and think about the people that you follow, whether it's online, whether it's been in your past, your parents, your maybe a coach from high school. Every single one of them, whether you saw it or not, they were imperfect. Okay? And as a leader, for you to try to pretend to be perfect, not only are you setting yourself up for failure, but you're setting yourself up to live two lives, because no person is perfect. So is the problem in leadership? Is it that you're trying to present yourself as perfect, or is it that you're when you're following somebody, you're perceiving them as perfect? The real problem with perfection when it comes to a leader is typically the people perceive that person as perfect. And on top of that, people don't like to show their flaws. So bringing this together is to be an effective leader, you have to own your imperfections, okay? John Maxwell once said this. He once said that many communicate, few connect. I really like that. Remember that. To be an effective leader, many communicate, few connect. Very few people actually connect. And if you want to be a leader, you want to connect. So how do you connect with your team? How do you connect with your people? Well, when you meet your people, when you meet your team, your kids, your wife, when you talk to them and you meet them with where they're at, you want to own your imperfections. You don't want to run around just constantly oversharing your flaws, but it's important that you share your imperfections. You share where you've messed up, because through messing up, you'll connect. through sharing that. Okay, so here's an example. You guys watch my social media online. Sometimes you probably think that I'm perfect. You're like, oh, he's just so perfect. But if you look at a lot of my videos, I stutter in my videos. Sometimes I have a hard time getting to my point. Other times when I have videos where the camera angle's all messed up, or like, maybe I tell a story and then it's slightly different in another story. I'm very inaccurate. I'm a human being, so I'm going to be inaccurate. But last night, here's an example of being imperfect. So last night I went off the rails on my diet. I deliberately made the decision. I'm like, I'm gonna just eat whatever. And I went off the rails, and I woke up this morning, I remembered how much I hated it. Now, I could have not shared any of that on social media, but I chose to share it. I was like, hey, I think it's important that I share this. And I talked about how going off the rails in your diet creates mental fog, lack of mental clarity, and how I chose to go off plan, and I completely overdid it. I don't even want to talk about what I ate last night, all right? I had like Reese's peanut butter cups, like 3 different kinds, and I had some M&Ms, and it was like 3 or 4 bags of candy. It was and a brownie. Oh my God. But I was like, I'm gonna feel this tomorrow. So I ate it all, and I don't just do things a little bit, I do it a lot. So I ate that shit, and then today I woke up and I was like, it was hanging. I tried to journal and do my morning entry in my journal, and I couldn't think straight. I couldn't hear God's voice. I couldn't hear my conscience, and I just wrote about it. And I said, man, like I remember how shitty it feels to eat like shit. And I did my morning training. I did a video about it. But the point of that message is that when I share this imperfection, this is something small, right? I was beating myself up for going off the rails on my diet. Like, I shouldn't have gone that far. But, I also remember a time in my life where I would go and I'd drink a half a fifth of alcohol before I went out to the bars, before I started my night, a half a fifth just to start the night. And I wouldn't even give a shit about that the next day. I wouldn't care at all. And today I will eat I'd go off the rails with the diet, have a bunch of candy, and I feel horrible about that the next day. Or if I mess up on the macros a little bit, I feel horrible, right? It's a big change, a big transformation. But the whole point, again, of this video is if you never share your imperfections with people, people can never really connect with you. And if you want to create transformation in a person, they have to have the feeling that they can become what you are. If you constantly appear perfect, like you're impossible to become, people do want a target that's hard to reach, but if they feel like they can never become and adopt your strengths, then they'll eventually get mad at you, and you'll actually cause them to develop resentment towards you, and you'll push them away because they will feel and they will internalize and feel like a failure, and they can't amount to your level of standard. So it's not fair to the people around you to give this false persona to your team. It's not right to your kids. It's not right to you. It's better to show them through your example what it means to fail and be imperfect than it does to be perfectly perfect, because this is how you send. I had this friend and I, when I was in school, he got straight A's all the way through high school. And then he failed one day later on after high school. Well, he went off the rails and got into drugs. His whole life turned upside down. When you have a person that lives so straight, so narrow, so focused, and then they fail, it breaks their identity, and they don't know how to handle that. They don't know how to handle the failure of being not perfect. So as a leader, you're screwing over people by creating this persona that you're absolutely perfect. You're not perfect. We all have skeletons in our closet. If you guys looked into my life, you would see all sorts of mistakes starting back when I was in my youth. Okay? You name it, there's probably a situation where I did something that was unethical, immoral, wrong, straight up just the wrong way of going about it. Lying, cheating, stealing, whatever. I didn't really steal a whole lot when I was younger, but my point is that I broke rules when I was a kid and when I was coming up, and even as I got a little bit older. So I have been imperfect. My passion in sharing my these life lessons, the mindset lessons with you guys, is to take all the mistakes that I made in my life, turn around and share it with you guys to right my wrongs. Okay? I have done wrong by others. I have lied. I have cheated. I have stole. I have done those things in my life. And I sit in front of you today as a man that has been reborn, and now my mistakes, I try to own them as they happen. So whether I fail on something so trivial like my diet, or maybe I fabricate in a story, I work my way to cleaning that stuff up so that I can be honest and true to myself. And now this is how you develop and become an authentic version of you, and you develop confidence as a leader. When people sense your confidence, they sense a person that speaks their truth. And when you speak your truth, people want to be like that, because most people are living in lies. So a lot of the aura that a person has about them, the feeling that they have, if you're speaking your truth, you can fail and still have a strong aura. Absolutely. But a person that has a weak aura is one that lies to themselves all the time. And it's that person you look at and you don't trust them, because you're like, there's something off with this person, and it's a feeling and it's an energy. Bringing this together as we close it off is that to be an effective leader, you have to show your imperfections to your team. And what I want you guys to remember is ask yourself, when it comes to sharing your imperfections, when it comes to accepting that you're imperfect, do you want to be perfect? Do you want to be perfect? What's more important to you? What's more important to you, success or perfection? What is more important to you, success or perfection? Hey, enough. And with that being said, guys, as we close off this video, I want you guys to be successful, okay? Successful as a leader, not perfect. We strive for perfection so we can get close to excellence, but on the pursuit of excellence, there's a lot of failures that we go through as leaders. I went through a ton as a junior officer, and I go through even a ton today. I mean, dude, here's an example. My Lamborghini is in the fucking, the engine, it might need a new engine. And I bought that thing for my wife, and now all of a sudden I haven't had it for like a month or 2 months or something like that. It's getting repairs, and I'm like, it's like a whole financial problem in my life. I'm like, Jesus, dude, I got to figure out what to do with this thing. And at the same time, I'm battling with, the fact that I wasn't able to I'm just battling with the fact that I'm in a situation that, it's financially straining me. Like, this Lamborghini thing is fucking, I'm losing all types of money on it. It's pissing me off. And I'm kind of going off a little bit of a tangent here, but the whole point of this video is to own your imperfections, and that has been far from perfect in my life, that Lamborghini. Even though I like that car, but who knows? I might have to get rid of it. And that feels like a huge failure for me with my wife, because I got that car for her. But bringing this all together as we close it off, I want you guys to be the authentic version of you. Own your imperfections, own your flaws, and if you have to, if you really want to connect with your team, and you have to, not only to connect with them, but to create change in the people around you. All right, I love you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember, success, not perfection. That's what we want as a collective group. Conquer all.